We'll just get her done here. Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. It's another Tuesday. I keep doing that, Thursday night live stream. No, it's a Tuesday night live stream here with us at Disc Golf Central. Another great night tonight. We have an awesome guest joining us, Mr. Wes Shinvevar from Discraft Underground Team Captain. Wes, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. We got a nice Tuesday night, at least up here in Michigan. We are finally getting some good weather to hopefully get out and throw some more Frisbees.
Finally.
Yeah, Craig's been taking advantage of that in the last couple of days.
For sure.
Craig, you're hitting 100 putts a night or putting 100 putts a night? I don't know. You're making all 100? Or
Hell no, not me. If I was making all 100, hey, it'd be a different story. But, yeah, trying to get out there and at least throw or putt or something every day. So it's been so crappy for so long that we can finally get out there. I got to take advantage of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I wish I could say I had that problem down here in Texas. It's been pretty nice for a couple of months now, but no, there were some months there where it was pretty hard to get out, just a lot of rain, but nothing like the feet of snow that y'all have been buried under up there for the last couple of months. But yeah, I mean we're what, 2 weeks out now, Craig, from the Gratiot County Open that you and I are both playing in. So glad to see it's finally starting to be nice up there. So
yes. Yep.
Well, Wes, tonight we're going to talk about everything from your disc golf story, which we'll get into here in a second, to Team Underground, what's up next for Team Underground, and what you're doing the rest of this season, maybe even what you've done so far. But to kick us off, as we always do, tell us what your disc golf story is. How did you get started in disc golf?
Yeah, well, I have a kind of a long path to disc golf. I had played a little bit in high school with some friends, just going out to the course, not really knowing much about Frisbees or about disc golf, but just kind of going out there and throwing some Frisbees at Grand Woods here in Lansing, which is kind of our local free park. And so, I had played a little bit in high school, and then after that, I didn't really play in college or really follow disc golf much or do anything other than maybe throw an ultimate Frisbee a few times at the beach.
Sure.
But after college, I actually got into Guts Frisbee,
okay,
which is a little bit lesser known game. It was invented here in Michigan, but it's kind of simply put a game of throw and catch, but more in a dodgeball style.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar. It looks like a ton of fun to play, but I've never been able to. But it looks sweet. Yeah,
it's a fun game. I think the Frisbee is like 112 grams. It's a pro mold, I believe, and it's really flexible. So, some of the upper guys are throwing 80 miles per hour. Are really ripping these things. You're 46 feet apart roughly, and the goal is just to catch it. You can only use one hand. So for a lot of years, I really focused on playing Guts. We have a really good team in Lansing here, the Boomtown Saints, and we've sent several of our guys to the actual world tournament for Guts Frisbee, and those guys have won. A couple of them, I think, have won more than once there. So played a lot of Guts Frisbee, practiced a lot of Guts Frisbee, threw a lot of forehand stuff, and with the 112 grams, trying to throw past people, you're really ripping on those things. So at some point, it would have been probably about 6 years ago now, one of my buddies wanted to go play some disc golf, and I was like, oh, yeah, I've played that before, have the Guts Frisbee background, so I, kind of understand the flight of a disc, and angles and stuff. And so I went out with him and 2 or 3 other buddies, and I think I went and I bought a Buzz and a like 150 gram magnet, and then some 14-speed driver that I had no business throwing. But I mean, had good arm speed, threw forehands, and really struggled, as any beginner player does, with the 13, 14-speed driver. Was terrible at putting, but really had a lot of fun. And I think that was kind of in the fall of 2013. I think I played maybe one more time before winter that year, and then kind of left it alone for the winter. And then come spring, I started looking for something to do again outside. With Guts Frisbee, you need at least one other person to either throw at or throw with, and a lot of times it's a lot more fun when you got 5 or 6 people. And so I was kind of looking for something to go and do myself. And I kind of come back to the idea of disc golf. So I went out, I bought a couple more Frisbees, went to Birchfield Park here in Lansing, which is a beautiful park. We had U.S. Women's last year. We got CCR Open this year, which is going to be a huge event. And just kind of went there and started playing a little bit on my own. Kind of found the local club and got into our Tuesday Pro-Am League. Met a lot of the local guys. Everybody was super nice and really helpful, especially the better players with some tips. I'm sure my form when I started was absolute garbage. I was still trying to throw everything full power like I was with Guts Frisbee. And kind of quickly after I started, I had to transition over to just throwing backhands for disc golf and kind of throwing forehands for Guts Frisbee because I was still playing in some big Guts Frisbee tournaments at the time. So yeah, I just kind of started playing. I think like most people, when you struggle, there's something inside of you that just wants to get better. And I've talked to just a ton of people who just kind of talk about, how much they fall in love with the game and about improving and, really trying to perfect their form and really trying to, get birdies on those holes that you've never birdied before. And just really going out there and playing a lot and kind of chasing some of those goals. And before you know it, you're out there all the time, playing all the time, getting into tournaments, helping run leagues and just getting really involved.
Yeah. I think, man, that was a pretty full picture of how you got into it, but you touched on so many good things. One of the things that I never expected it to come up as much as it has with other guests that we've had on, but just the importance of taking the initiative to go get plugged into a local league. Like that, man, Craig and I played for years just playing with the same group of like 5-6 guys. And it just gets old because you know how good everybody is. You find that kind of hierarchy of skill level than all of us, but when you go and you find a league, you can actually compete against people that are in your similar skill level, and maybe it's different people every week. And that experience as a competitor and as somebody, like you said, trying to get better just for the sake of their own satisfaction, which is a beautiful thing about the game of golf, it's going to help in whatever aspect of improvement you're looking for. And that's something that has just kept coming up. And when we've been hearing these stories from people that, that maybe first crucial step was going and finding a league and getting plugged in. So that's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and I just started joining the league here a few weeks ago, and I've already seen just huge changes in my game, even just in a mental aspect. The first week, I'll never forget going, and there was a guy on my card. He was an older guy, had jeans and work boots on, and just the over-the-shoulder bag with like 5 discs in it. And I'm like, oh, man, this guy's going to be awful. And he went out and kicked everybody's butt, just because – he'd been playing for so long, and he'd had the same disc. He knew exactly what they did, and it helped me to take a step back and say, okay, maybe, there isn't just this certain look of a person that makes him a good disc golfer or not a good disc golfer, and to actually open my eyes and realize there's a whole other world out there of disc golfers that I haven't even experienced because we've been playing with the same group of friends. So I agree that it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, I think it helps to I remember one thing, I was really nervous when I joined the league to kind of throw in front of new people. And I think a lot of people are, especially if you're not, already really good or have a big Frisbee background. I think a lot of people are nervous, but I think it is a huge first step to go join your league. And most leagues or clubs that are established will kind of have a Pro-Am league, or if they have a singles league, they'll probably have divisions where you can play with at least starting out people that are at your skill level, but then you get to know some of the better players. Maybe you play around with them on Saturday, and one of the things I really love about disc golf is that everybody, for the most part, everybody's really friendly and willing to offer advice and help you out.
Yep.
Especially the top tier players. I mean, nobody started at the top tier. Those guys have put in a lot of hours and learned a lot of things to get there. And so by joining the league, you run into those guys that are willing to kind of help you out and help you kind of become a better player and, hopefully eventually get to that top level. So I always thought that was a really cool part of being involved with the club as well.
Yeah, 100%. You going to say something, Craig?
No, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say off of that is it comes back to, for me, there's so many people that we run into, because you're right, by and large, the disc golf community is a bunch of really awesome people. we've run into, Craig and I at different times, both me down here in Texas and him up there, where it's like the person who doesn't have the right attitude coming into a league event, or even a tournament, And I think I would say that I've been that guy before, and I think Craig would probably say he's been that guy before too, where you just come in with this level of confidence in yourself because you've never put yourself in that position to have to compete against other people. And then you go and you open your eyes up and you immediately go into like this negative attitude, and you're not teachable, and you miss out on the whole opportunity to glean useful information from people just because maybe you're mad at yourself for overestimating your own skill, or you're mad at you get nitpicky with the card you're playing with, like, oh my gosh, this guy wants me to stand 15 feet behind him while he putts. What a prima donna. Like, that's definitely, I've said almost those exact words to Craig before, because I was pissed because I wasn't playing good, and this guy was taking it way more seriously than I was, which is probably why he was beating me. The whole aspect of making that jump from casual play with your buddies to saying, okay, I could make this something that whether it's I want to compete for the sake of the competition aspect, or whether I want to compete because it's really the only way to get better when you're playing a game like golf, is to go out and compete against other people, because golf is such a you versus yourself game. Man, it's the only way to really improve, and if you don't go into it with the right attitude, you're going to miss your opportunity to get useful stuff out of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So transitioning from there, from kind of when you got your start playing disc golf to now being team captain of Discraft Underground, how do you go from one extreme to the other?
Yeah, well, when I started getting involved and playing a lot more disc golf, so I come from obviously the guts background frisbee wise, but I've also bowled my entire life, and one thing I kind of found cool about bowling is that every ball does something different, and there's a million ways that you can drill a ball to do something slightly different as well. Mm-hmm. So in bowling, I always wanted to try different balls, have the latest equipment, and so when I first started disc golfing, I threw a lot of different brands, and at some point I was like, man, I really got to try and simplify this down to just one brand for my own sake. Because I just wanted to try. Innova has, I'm not sure how many discs, but it just at the time it was unfeasible.
At
the time it was unfeasible for me to try all the discs that Innova had. Being a Michigan guy, Discraft's a Michigan company. Their lineup, it is pretty simple, is still relatively simple, and so I chose them both for the Michigan aspect, but then also for having a simple lineup where I felt like I could really try most of their discs and figure out what worked for me. So kind of became a Discraft fan. Obviously, we got a lot of Discraft pros here in Michigan. With John Perry and Tim Barham were kind of the two original guys, and we got Willie and Ziggy and Reed now. But I think I ran into Tim at one of my early tournaments and talked to him, and he was just such a really cool guy. It really kind of helped bolster me towards Discraft, I guess. And when they signed Val, I thought that was really cool as well, because I'm always trying to push kind of equal levels for women in sports as well. Yeah. And so I thought it was really cool when they signed Val, gave her what she was looking for to bring her over. And so again, kind of another reinforcement with Discraft. And I just became a really big Discraft fan. Became a fan of all the pros. I would reach out and kind of talk to them from time to time. I'd follow any of their coverage on YouTube, and just really kind of be a little bit of a part of the Discraft family, kind of by my own doing.
Yeah.
So at some point I was doing kind of tournament recaps, because I noticed the pros didn't necessarily have a huge voice. I mean, Discraft kind of always lacked a little bit in the marketing aspect, and I am a marketing major, graduated from Grand Valley, so okay. I kind of saw that niche there, and was like, man, they could use a little bit of help in my free time, just doing some tournament recaps and some fun videos. And so I just kind of tried to get a little bit more involved on that side of things. As I was getting a little bit more involved, a little bit more known, I buy and sell a ton of Frisbees, so a lot of people knew me that way as well. Discraft Bob had called me at some point and said, hey, Wes, we'd like to have you come into the factory. We've been seeing everything that you're doing with the tournament recaps and videos and all of it. And so I got to go in and was super intimidated.
Right.
Bob is the nicest dude, but to go over to the factory and meet with one of the head honcho fellows for me was super intimidating. And so we go into the conference room, and John Richardson, who's the new marketing guy, had just hired on relatively recently to when I went in there. Mm-hmm. And so we sit down at the big table at the factory there, and Bob kind of tells me that hey, they're looking to start up kind of the street style team, which isn't necessarily a new concept. Other companies have done this, but I think our goals are maybe a little bit different than some of the other companies, and our sponsorship package I think is a little bit different as well. So the ends up being this real long journey of just kind of throwing Discraft, Discraft fan, really being a fan of the company as well, and the goals and what they represented, and seeing how much they give back here in Michigan. To having this first meeting with Bob, and there was several subsequent meetings after that where we kind of established some guidelines and some goals and what the sponsorship package was going to be. But it was a long road to get to that point. I think you see a lot of people that kind of brand hop. Different companies are doing different things at different times,
right?
And it kind of worked out really well for me. Sticking behind Discraft for several years to kind of become a small piece of this big plan that they have implemented now.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me a lot like kind of where Craig and I come at it from too, like content for the pros and giving the voice to the pros. But what about people that just want to talk about disc golf and are they have their own story to tell, and so that's kind of what led to this. But it's cool to hear that you just kind of took your own initiative. We've heard that story a lot too with the different people that we've had on, and just people stepping up and making the connections. And like we were talking about pre-stream, Craig and I are amazed at how many people are just willing to come on the show when we don't have a huge presence yet, but just that ability to be consistent and get some of those big names on, and just have them be so willing to come and share this little time with us. It's been amazing, and it's a huge credit, I think, to the disc golf community at large, just how open and friendly people are.
Yeah. And go ahead, Wes, sorry.
I was going to say, people are always looking for good content, and you guys have had some good names on there too, and people are always interested in what guys like Dave Feldberg have going on, and kind of hearing their story and hearing what they have going on too. So I think the more that you do it, the audience will definitely continue to build.
Yeah, that's the plan. We know that we both have marketing and sales backgrounds too, and that we just know that consistency is key, and that's that's the plan. We're not looking to go out and be world beaters. We just want to have good conversations with people. So what were you
and really
say, Craig?
No, really, when we started this whole thing, we kind of used the Discraft Underground format as kind of a guiding path of where we want to go. We're just two guys that love disc golf. We want to just talk to whoever for however long about whatever about disc golf. So at the root of it, Tori and I are two guys that love Discraft. We've always kind of loved Discraft. When I first started, I had Innova discs, and Tori was actually the one that was like, hey, why don't you check out Discraft? They're a Michigan company. And the second that I found that out, I started buying all sorts of Discraft stuff, and him and I were kind of the only ones in our group of friends that played that had Discraft, and we used to catch a lot of crap because, well, nobody throws Discraft.
Yeah,
Paul McBeth throws in
like blah, blah, blah. 3-time Paul McBeth world champ.
Right. And so when you guys launched Discraft Underground, it was kind of like, hey, why don't you check out what Discraft's starting to do here? And then, the whole big announcement of Paul and Paul Ulibarri and just all these other pros that are coming over to Discraft this year. And Tori and I were just kind of sitting back like,
yeah, just chuckling.
Finally, it's about time that, Discraft gets the credit that it deserves, because they really have been making great discs for years, and they just didn't get the credit because they maybe didn't have as big of names throwing their plastic.
Yeah.
And I think
when I had talked.
Go ahead.
I had talked to Bob Giulio as well, really about that very thing is kind of, Discraft sat back for several years, and he noted that they had invested in the new factory, invested in new machines, and really put the money into the company to set themselves up with a platform where they can keep up with plastic demand and sign these big pros and kind of give them the money that they're asking for and that they deserve. So even though they did sit back, I think the game is really continues to grow and is continuously at its peak. So for them to really be at the forefront at such a good time for the sport, is something that I think that they really thought about and had a long-term plan and are now executing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, we're gonna do all this stuff overnight." One of the cool things that I've taken away from kind of the off-season transition, you guys did your interview with Nate and Val, and yeah. I know Val talked about when she came over to Discraft, it was very clear to her right away how they treated their players and how they just, as a company, took care of each other. And, we've heard some of the other pros say kind of the same thing. And I think it's pretty obvious that some other companies maybe don't do that and they don't take care of each other. They don't look after each other. But it appears from an outsider's view that Discraft definitely does that. And that's just another reason why, I'll gladly support Discraft.
Yep. And I think that kind of touches on too when I, was first learning about Discraft and figuring out where I wanted to spend my money. I had learned and heard all of those things early on as well, and so that was just another chip to following Discraft and kind of being a Discraft fan is that they do really take care of their players, and I think we've heard Paul say a lot of times too that he's never been able to really have as much hands-on influence, with the molds and with the lineup and with the plastic and stuff that he's throwing. And I think Discraft is a really perfect happy medium for where the sport's at right now, that they're not such a big company with multi-factories pumping out plastic that they can't, listen to what Paul's saying, or if Paul wants to create a new mold, go ahead and, create one, see how it flies, see if it works. Yeah. And so give the players that opportunity that some other companies might not be able to.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, you were talking about how this plan has been in place for literally years. And I think, Craig and I early on, Craig, you started playing about 2013. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, somewhere in there. 20, maybe a little bit. Yeah, taking it serious at that point, yes.
Right. So I started playing end of 2009 and then really got started 2010. And like I said, I went, maybe I said this on stream, maybe I said it pre-stream. I went and I bought a starter pack from MC Sports of Discraft. It was a Soft APX, a Deep Buzz, and a Stratus X. And that was, I had never seen disc golf discs other than those. So, for all I knew, Discraft was it. So naturally the thing that I do after I go and throw my very first drive into the water because I don't know what I'm doing is I go to YouTube and I type in Discraft disc golf, and what comes up is these videos from a couple years prior to that of Nate Doss winning Worlds, and then you had Scott Papa and some other pros at the time. I knew Michael Johansson was on there, Robbie Bratton was on there. There was some videos that they had done of grip tips and how to throw, and so I really learned how to play from those videos and develop some positive technique habits from those videos. And then by the time, Craig was getting involved, I was like, well, just go, check out and see what Discraft has out there that's new, the new videos that they have. And there was nothing, there's this huge gap in between the stuff they were putting out on YouTube. And so there was this opportunity for the Spin TV to come out, and Dynamic Discs picked up a lot of that YouTube, world. And now it seems like in that kind of lull time while they were doing all this work behind the scenes to set themselves up to really ramp things up again, which it seems like they're doing now. Now it's just this perfect explosion of all the things and pieces falling into place, and it's been cool to see as three lifelong disc golf and Discraft fans. So, it's sweet. It's a good time to be throwing Discraft, that is for sure.
Totally agree. It's an exciting time too. Just there's so many beautiful new discs that are coming out. The Tour Series swirlies are crazy. I don't know how they keep coming up with cooler and cooler swirly stuff.
Yes, those are awesome.
I don't even know how many times I've heard people say oh my gosh, I can't possibly buy any more discs. I'll take two. And it's just, I don't know how they keep outdoing themselves. I don't know if they'll be able to keep outdoing themselves, but I'm pretty sure they have a kind of schedule for the year of stuff that'll be coming out kind of in sequential order. So I think it's going to continue to be a big year for them, and I think we're going to keep seeing a lot more cool stuff as the year goes on here.
Yeah.
I can't afford that, so I hope that's true, but I hope that's not true. So
yeah, I hear you.
Craig keeps texting me all the time, buying all these new discs. He just picked up the Soul and was throwing that the other day. And man, every time he texts me, and he's like, "Dude, yeah, this is with the Soul as an example. It's like he's like feels like a putter, throws like a meteor with maybe a little bit, it's a little bit different. I don't really remember exactly what you said, but as soon as he tells me about it, I'm just like, I got to go buy another disc. It's like I'm draining my bank account over here.
Well, I did that with the Lunas as well.
Yep. Yeah. I
still haven't picked one of those. And then the first run Lunas and the Macbeth buzzes, and yeah, it just keep adding to it.
Yep, you did pick me up a Macbeth buzz, which I'm forever grateful for.
Yes.
But I immediately went and threw it, and it didn't go right in the basket. So I kind of wanted to send it back to you because I was told that there would be aces abound with the Macbeth claw stamp.
Yes.
But you just gotta keep going.
I guess so. The only well, that's not true. I've had 4 aces in my life. I waited 7 years before I got my first one, and then I got 3 right in a row, all with the same TI buzz. That was one of the runs that Nate Doss signed for fundraisers. And I remember buying it, and I was looking at it, and I was like, man, it's got Nate Doss' signature on it. That's so cool. But I have to throw it. So I threw it, and then after a couple years, I got 3 aces with it. So it's still in the bag. It's still a great disc. The other one was a Punisher. I skip aced with a machete. I skip aced with
Paige Bjorkus and Paige Pierce. I got a pink underground stamp buzz, and I had both of them sign it. So
nice.
I always say it gives the disc a little bit extra magic when you got a little pro luck or a little pro ink on there.
Sure.
That's exactly what I said to people. That is exactly what I said to people with that Nate Doss. It took like four more years to get to kick in, but hey, it got there eventually. So.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Wes, tell us a little bit about what's coming up next for Team Underground. If you have anything that is really exciting that you're excited for, or maybe you had this big push to form the team. What is? Are there phases that you're working through? Kind of what's a little bit of the background there for people?
Yeah, well, we're getting close to I think a year. I think we started June of last year. I think was when we added the first 10 or 11 people. So we're getting close to a year, and when we first started, we had I think the first weekend when we announced it at Ledgestone, there was 400 applications the first week, and I go through and I read every one of them because if I applied for a team, I would want somebody to hopefully read mine and give me a fair shot. So I wanted to give that same respect to every person that spent the time to apply. So there was a lot of really, really good applications early on. I think that there's, a ton of Discraft diehards out there, and this was a really cool way for Discraft to give back to some of those people that, had been Discraft fans for a long time, were running tournaments, were kind of chipping in with the social media, were, figures in their clubs and promoting Discraft in their clubs. So we added a lot of people really early on, and then we kind of slowed down a little bit from there. So throughout this year, I think we've added just a couple of people throughout this year, and we're going to add a couple of more for the end of the year. And then I think at the end of the year, we're going to have some addition and subtractions. Naturally, some people end up moving away from disc golf, and we got maybe 2 or 3 people that we added early on that are now kind of moving away a little bit from disc golf. So we want to get those spots filled with people that are active, people that are doing stuff. So we'll be adding a few more people throughout the year, and then we'll be adding probably a larger batch of people towards the end of the year after we make some subtractions.
Sure.
So in terms of what we got going on, I think we're going to get some underground stamped stuff up for the team.
Cool.
Which is going to be kind of cool. I know the team's really excited about that. It's something they've been asking for. Not sure if we're going to get apparel outside of the shirts necessarily, but just kind of some small projects. I've really tried to set the team up to be, kind of self-sufficient. Me and Pat working on the videos. We have a lot of people that are chipping in with social media. We have some people that are just, major tournament directors or big influences in their area. Michael Munn is I forget which state he's in, but he's in the South, and he helps run the the name escapes me, but it's like the PDGA for the South. They're their own separate entity.
Interesting.
So he's a big promoter down in his area. So we have a really big mix of social media, people that are working on some graphics, and then people that are just kind of tournament directors and kind of doing a lot of stuff in their area.
Cool. That was always something that, like, I've always kind of thought to myself, it'd be cool to direct a tournament, but I wouldn't even know the first thing about where to start. And now moving down here, having to get re-involved with the scene, and now moving again, I have to get re-involved with the scene. But hopefully we'll be in San Antonio for a while. That's definitely a goal of mine long term, is to direct a tournament and do something like that, just as a way of giving back. I think it's a really cool aspect of the sport.
Yeah. I'm going to be I'm co-TDing our big A tier this year, and have been working on the fundraising for that, and it's a lot of effort.
Sure.
A tiers are such big events. There's so much that goes into them. Really the entire year. As soon as the event ends, you're kind of planning for next year, and I'm sure with any of the pro tour events would probably say the same thing. Yeah. But there's just a lot of hours that go into these big tournaments. But if you just want to run a C tier, or something a little bit smaller, which is a great way to start and kind of get involved in your area. There's a lot less work
sure.
that goes into a small, and definitely very doable.
Cool. For people that don't know, maybe even myself included, maybe I'm not entirely informed on this, but what is the difference in terms of what goes into an A tier versus what goes into a C tier, and how is that quantified? Like behind the scenes, Can you just go out and say, hey, I want my event to be an A tier, and boom, magically it's an A tier? Or is there certain qualifications you have to meet? Maybe break that down a little bit if you can, since you're kind of walking through that process right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I know all of these specifics, but the big difference with a C tier and a B tier is the added cash for the open players. So a C tier, I think you only have to have $50, and I think they're working on raising that this year, but it's a really small amount. I mean, you get one small sponsor to chip in $50, and you got your added cash. Yeah. And I believe B tiers are $500 minimum added cash. I believe both have to be 2 rounds, and then the big difference with the A tier is that you have to have 54 holes, and I believe it's $1,500 minimum added cash. And I forget if that number went up, but you start getting into $1,500, and you really got to start reaching out to some other local companies to get some additional money, or the club has a pretty big bill that they're footing. Right. And what we had done in the past is, kind of used all of our other tournaments to fundraise for our big A tier. And we would inevitably end up losing money on the big A tier, but that would still get funded through our other tournaments. So this year we were able to get Discraft involved, and they have given us tremendous support both in products and bringing Jomez and UDisc Live to the A tier as well.
Nice.
We're super excited to have Jomez here and have them film Birchfield, which is, in my opinion, one of the nicest courses in Michigan here.
For sure, yeah.
And our A tier, I think we've been running for over 20 years, and so having a long-standing, reputable A tier, Discraft was excited to kind of jump in this year and get a little bit more involved.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited because the tournament that I'm traveling back up to Michigan, and just by lucky happenstance, I'm getting to play the Gratiot County Open with Craig there for kind of a little just fun day on the course. But that's a Discraft sponsored event, and I'm getting a free disc out of the deal. I can't complain about that, man. I come all the way to Michigan to play a disc golf tournament, and I'm going to get a free TI Undertaker. We were just talking about that yesterday. I love my Undertaker so much, and I'm looking forward to trying it in TI plastic. So.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, shifting back to just kind of underground side of things, Tori and I, we have not received a phone call from you yet, Wes, to join the team. So I think we're probably just waiting until fall. Then you said you're going to add a bunch more people.
Hey, it's possible. It's possible.
I don't think we're the caliber of players that even is required for the underground team. But
and there's people that are doing far more for the sport than us. I'm just teasing you.
Just had to throw it out there.
I do want to segue back to that real quick because, there are people out there that don't know necessarily even what underground is. We've kind of touched on it, and obviously Tori and I know, and so it's easy for us three to just kind of not really dive into the full details, but just kind of skim the outskirts of it. So what exactly is Discraft Underground? Why should somebody apply? How do they apply? Where can they go find out more information? And then just, what do they get? What are the benefits for them being on the team?
Yeah. Well, so they can apply at discraft.com/underground, and those applications all go to a spreadsheet that I review, and then once when I'm looking at apps, I think one thing that a lot of people don't know, it's kind of unspoken, is that apps are always ongoing. So, sometimes people are doing a lot of stuff and then they kind of fall off a little bit. I usually have a list of anywhere from 10 to 25 people that I am kind of keeping an eye, mainly on their social media. Sometimes I'll check their tournament play and results a little bit as well, but I always keep a list of people that I'm kind of keeping an eye on so that when we do have spots open, or if we're looking for somebody in a specific area, then I have people already lined up.
Sure.
So applications are always ongoing, and if you don't get a call, right away, first month, second month, it's possible that you will still get one. Maybe even a year down the road. There's a good number of people that I follow along with. Their adventures and that marketing void that Discraft had. Obviously, that's changed with the addition of both Pauls and all the other names that they got this year. So Discraft doesn't quite have as much of a void, but our goals really remain the same. We're looking for people that are kind of chipping in on that social media front, and then people that are doing good things in their area as well. And usually that means, the guys that are doing maybe a little bit more than just playing in a few tournaments, guys that are helping run leagues or helping run tournaments and kind of getting out there a little bit more than your player that just, shows up at 8:30 for check-in and plays their 2 rounds and goes home.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do have a sponsorship package for our players. I think there's a lot of unboxing videos on YouTube that people can probably look up if they kind of want the specifics, but it includes some discs, some swag, and then some other protos throughout the year to review and do some videos with. I think just this year so far, or end of last year, I forget, but the Test Flight Raptors, everybody got those to throw first and review, and then the Test Flight Kongs as well, which were super exciting. I mean, those were really cool to get early and kind of be one of the first people to sort of throw those and test those out. But then there's some other perks as well throughout the year. So we really try and keep it a family atmosphere. Everybody that's on the team really goes through a character check. Part of the reason that I like to call people and talk to them is kind of part of that character check. Make sure that people are excited to join the team. Really be able to hear it in their voice and make sure that they're excited and looking forward to being on the team.
Sure. And I would bet another big challenge, you mentioned people falling away from disc golf for a little bit. I know that was my story, 2015, 2016. Life happens and it's not something that becomes a priority for you at any given time. But I can say, for me anyway, it's always been the thing that I come back to. I have tons of hobbies, but disc golf's kind of always been at least somewhat of a constant. But so you want those people that's their situation, but you also want the people that aren't going to go and bail for a different street team for a different brand. You want those people that are really passionate about Discraft, and I think as we've laid out in this video for anybody watching, Discraft's a really easy company to really get behind and give some loyalty to. So I think it's kind of the two-way street there. Discraft does a good job, but on the other side, you don't want people jumping ship to I'm going to go throw a trilogy now or whatever it might be, just because maybe their street team's cooler that year or whatever. Who knows? But that's going to be a challenge, I'm sure, moving forward. But right now it seems like there's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of exposure, and things are going really well. So can't really complain. I got to believe sitting in your seat.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. I mean, kind of like I said earlier, it's been really such a cool time to be involved with Discraft, and part of running the underground team. I get to be on the workforce team Discraft workforce team, which is me and Nathan Skinner. So, when I was out at the memorial, I got to go to the Team Discraft party, and there was just a ton of Discraft pros out there, and I got to meet, some of the guys that I had talked to before, Andrew Presnell. I forget all the names. I got to meet Sam Lee out there. He's a really cool dude. Both of the Pauls were there, and so just to kind of, it's really cool for me to be able to run the team and kind of also be a part of Team Discraft in that regard as well. But it's so cool for Discraft to be giving back to the players. I mean, everybody that we have on the team is just really awesome. I always check in with people, every month or every other month and just say, hey, what do you got going on? How are things going? See if people have any questions, and just really try and stay involved with my players as much as I can to, just make sure everything's going great with them, and just kind of continue that sort of family atmosphere vibe that Discraft is always pushing.
That's awesome. You are not the first person to tell us that you do that. We've obviously had a few team members on our stream, and they've echoed that same thing, that it's a family feel. People are always checking in. You're checking in with them. And we've also had some other team members from other companies that we definitely don't get that vibe from them, and I've got to think that that's not the case across the board for all brands. And so I think that that's really cool that you're taking time out of your day. Obviously, this isn't your main gig, and you're taking time out of your day to check in on these people, and that just I'm sure that makes them want to do better for Discraft.
Right. Yeah, right. That's worked out great.
Yeah. So you mentioned going out to the memorial, and Tori and I saw, or not just Tori and I, everybody probably saw the picture of you and all the Discraft team members out at Top Golf and hanging out and stuff. And you mentioned getting to go do that and get to hang out with them and stuff. Let's just talk about your tournament schedule this year. It's kind of easy to just wrap you into Discraft Underground, but you have your own identity, your own brand that you're trying to grow too. So talk about what you've been up to this year, what you've got going on, anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it has gone by the wayside just a little bit for me. I still love competing and going to the tournaments, but I've been a little bit more focused on the underground and the players this year, and spend a little bit more time, not 100% of my time practicing, but maybe 50% practicing and 50% checking in with people, answering questions and doing some of that stuff. But tournament year here in Michigan started pretty early. I think my first tournament was beginning of February at Cracked Plastic down in Kalamazoo, and I always kind of laugh because conditions were crap that weekend. It was cold, it was windy. The green areas were all pretty much icy. But up here in Michigan, as we play year round. Yep. And you guys don't quite have those type of conditions in Texas to make it.
Nope. Just
swampy.
Sort of,
just swampy. Maybe some rain. So I think that was my first tournament of the year, and going out to the memorial just kind of ended up working out this year. My wife and I were going out to Arizona for some family stuff, and it just kind of worked to line it up with the memorial as well. So that was a really cool experience. Those courses are really hard.
Seriously.
The pros make them look not very difficult, but man, are those courses hard. Vista is just a really long deserty course. You got a couple of the water OBs out there, and there's not a ton of trees, but you still really got to hit a line. And those holes are really, really well defined, but really fair. Like you have on most of those holes, you really, unless you're throwing 500-foot hyzers like Simon and Eagle.
Nope.
There's really kind of one line that's laid out for you to hit, and you just got to go out there and hit it and make a good putt, hopefully. And Fountain Hills was, I was shocked at how hard Fountain Hills was for me. Seeing the Crush Boys shoot 15 or 16 down the day before, I was like, oh, this course isn't really that hard. Hopefully I can shoot even or a couple under, and that course kicked my butt. That is it's a long course. There is a lot of trouble to be had out there, and it's a really fun course. I can't wait to hopefully go back and play it again. But I played that one blind, and that was a terrible idea. Those courses are a lot of fun. I've played a couple other tournaments between now and then. I think I tied for the win at March Mush, and that was the most insane day of weather that anybody's ever seen. Nobody in their right mind would have been out there if there wasn't a tournament. I mean, we had 30 to 50 mile per hour winds. It was 40 degrees. I don't think I ran a putt outside 10 feet all day.
No.
I couldn't.
Yep.
No, it was nuts.
Saturday.
Yeah, I played Saturday, which I think you were there too. I played Saturday, and we had, trophy presentation just got done, and we were pulling out of the parking lot, and the freezing rain started, and I was like, man, I'm so glad we played today and not tomorrow. And then the next day I see you posting pictures that you had won, and I was like, oh man, he's crazy to be out there playing in that, because I know how bad some of those tee pads were and some of the hills were the day before. I can't imagine, with ice on them, and then the wind picked up even more. It was windy Saturday, but Sunday it was even crazier. So, kudos to you.
Yeah, it was. If there wasn't a tournament, if I wasn't already signed up, that's one I definitely would have dropped if I could have. And
I think Craig was thinking the same thing.
For sure.
I'm
sure.
Yeah. A couple. I mean, I had one of my big goals this year. My rating got up to 910, and one of my goals this year is to play a few AM1 tournaments. Kind of play well enough at a tournament to qualify. Cracked Plastic was the first one. I played M1 there and shot really poorly. Memorial, I was kind of close after the first 2 rounds, but then Fountain ate me up and moved me way back. And then March Mush, I think that Saturday round was my third attempt to try and put together 2 good rounds to get it into AmNats, but Ionia, I forget the tournament name even, but the Ionia course
I think it's just the Ionia Open. I think is what it is, but maybe. Could be wrong, but
it's run by Mike Kemp. He's a really great guy, and I was able to put together 2 good rounds up there and qualify for AmNats, which I was really stoked for. I shot a really good first round that had me, a couple places inside of where I needed to be. In this whole second round, I was just telling myself, don't do anything dumb. Just, make sure you get a few birdies out there and take some smart pars. And I was able to hold on and get a AmNats invite. So I'm hoping
awesome.
I will be there this year playing. I was planning to be there one way or another, whether it was helping out, caddying or playing. So I'll be there playing this year, which I am super excited about. It's an amazing tournament. The toboggan course is unlike any other course in the world. It's a long beast. It doesn't necessarily fit my game, but I'm going to go out there and try my best. So it should be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Congrats on that.
Yeah, great achievement.
It is the LP Open, by the way.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Who knows what that stands for, but that's what it's called.
Lower Peninsula, I think.
Oh. That makes sense. Yeah. And you leave Michigan for a year and you forget that there's 2 peninsulas.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Wes, is there anything else that you want people to know before we let you go? Definitely want to give you a chance to kind of tell people where to find you, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube for the underground interviews, stuff like that. But beyond that stuff, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you definitely want to make sure people know?
I just kind of want to plug the CCR Open again. It's going to be an awesome A-tier. I think almost all 3 pools are filled already. Tournament's end of June, sandwiched in between Ledgestone and the Great Lakes Open.
Nice.
It's going to be an awesome event. We have a lot of big pros that are going to be there, specifically a lot of big Discraft pros, and we're trying to hopefully a couple other pros will get in from some of the other companies as well, but it's going to be a really fun event. We've got a ton of support from Discraft this year, and we'll definitely be looking for volunteers. If you guys are looking for something to do that weekend, we'll have UDisc Live, so we'll probably need some people keeping scores for some awesome out there.
Seriously, though, Wes, let me know about that, because I was just talking to a buddy about going to that for that weekend and watching, so I plan on being around already. So seriously, let me know, and I can try to help out.
Yep. And the
Definitely.
UDisc live scoring is not difficult to do. I was gonna do it for Texas States, and one of the tournament director's kids wanted to do it, so I was like, okay, yeah, you little Johnny, you can go, you can take my spot, that's fine. But when you have UDisc live, they're you need a lot of bodies because you got to have somebody on every card. So
yeah.
And some pros like to keep their own score with UDisc live or pass it around, and some don't. So we're gonna have volunteers lined up if there's any cards for people that just don't want to keep their own score. They all know how to use it, but some people like to just go hold a hole and not keep track necessarily. So CCR Open is gonna be a great event. And then I'm actually TDing my first event this year. It is the Birchfield Open, and I think it's August 8th or 9th. I forget, but it's going to be at Birchfield. We'll play one round on each course, and it's going to be my first time being a TD. So any of my friends that want to come out and support me so I don't get harassed too hard, it'll be much appreciated.
Awesome.
Cool. We do have one question from the chat before you go from William Durant. Have you thrown a Big Z Roach?
Big Z Roach, I have not thrown a Big Z Roach, but I've seen a lot of people throw a Big Z Roach.
Craig,
not sure what he's...
Have you
I do bag a Big Z Roach, yes.
Nice.
What are your thoughts?
Flyers?
What's that, Wes?
Pretty straight flyers from what I've seen.
Pretty straight, yeah. I bag it mainly because I throw the Luna for basically all putter shots, and it's a little bit more understable than that. And it also is, the premium plastic where my Luna, man, those things take some chunks out when they hit trees. So yeah. I try to throw the Big Z Roach off of tees or any really tight wooded shots. It's a little bit more understable, but it's pretty straight flyer, straight. Lands right wherever it goes. So,
yep,
definitely a good disc. I would recommend it for sure.
All right. Well, William, there's your answer. Big Z Roach,
Here's your
straight
answer.
Flyer.
Maybe not from the guy you wanted to hear it from, but that's what we got for you.
That's the same. I know Haley King used to throw a Big Z Roach all over the place, and just really straight flyers. I mean, maybe like a slower Comet kind of comparison.
Yep.
I would say, but especially in the premium plastic, really good throwers.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, where can people find you, Wes, on Facebook to maybe buy some Team Stamp discs from you if they felt so inclined, or on Instagram to keep following you around as you're playing other tournaments and TDing and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think on Facebook it's /Team Stamp Wes. Instagram is the same. You can find me at Team Stamp Wes, and we got the YouTube channel. Me and Patrick Harrison run the underground interviews, and we got a lot of good content over there. Interviews with mainly Discraft pros. We might start branching out a little bit to the fringes. We had Ben Askren on there last week already. I think it was last week.
Yeah,
and we had him in. So underground interviews pages. We're always we're trying to do at least one video per week, same as you guys. Really trying to stay consistent with the content, whether it's player interviews or kind of disc talk or disc reviews. So we've got a lot going on over there too.
Sweet. We will drop a link to your Underground Interviews channel in the description. So if you're watching at home, go check that out. Throw them a subscribe, like some videos, and just give some support to other people making good disc content. So
yeah, definitely check out the Underground team. Go ahead and fill out an application, and like Wes said, if you don't get a call, just hold on to that hope.
Just keep waiting in the corner like Craig, just waiting for his call.
Yeah.
One more thing I definitely wanted to mention, if anybody's out there and does just love Discraft, the Discraft All Day Facebook page is a great place to get plugged in and just talk Discraft stuff on Facebook. So we'll drop that in the description for people too. I know, Wes, you're all over that page selling stuff and just having conversations. So Wes, thanks so much for joining us. This has been a great conversation, and best of luck all summer long with everything you're doing. Best of luck at AmNats and then TDing. It sounds like you're going to be a busy guy. So
yeah, it's going to be a busy year. Tori, Craig, thanks guys for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be happy to have you back on anytime, and maybe we'll recap later this year about how things went and maybe what you learned as a TD for the first time. That'd be kind of a cool stream, I think.
Yeah, I'm down. Count me in.
Sweet. Thanks for joining us. We'll let you go.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.
Right, see you, Wes.
solid guy. Another great interview.
Good guy for Discraft to have.
Yeah, I'm gonna go switch this to the 2-shot. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, with his background in marketing and obviously his passion to just keep on trucking and putting the team together. He's good guy to have in your corner for sure. Especially with how it sounds like he's just gonna be one of those brand loyal guys for forever. Which,
for sure,
we've talked about the importance of that, not just on this stream, but with other people too. So
for sure.
Do we have a update from this past weekend?
It actually crashed and we lost all point totals up to this point, so we're gonna have to both start over again.
Oh, that sucks. Are you sure it crashed, or are you sure it just didn't?
I deleted it all.
Just because of that 100 spot that Michael Johansson got for both of us?
Yeah. You had texted me on, I don't even know what day that was, Saturday maybe, saying, well, here's the break that you needed. MJ is out, and here's 100 points for me. And little did you know that I also selected him this week. So really didn't lose. You didn't lose any ground. You actually gained 24 spots on me, or 24 points on me, to jump out to a 380 to 426 lead. So that can obviously switch at any point if somewhere down the line you do get somebody that gets 100 points.
That never even crossed my mind, having somebody like
so I haven't looked.
I think I've only watched the one card from, because Jomez only does the feature card and lead cards from there on out, so it's not like there was a whole bunch of places to go and see. But I haven't seen if you posted on Instagram or anything like, hey, this is what happened. But yeah, man, to put up 100 points on you for taking a did not finish, there's something. There's a little wild card there for the future weeks. That's for sure.
Yeah, right here says after playing 19 of 24 holes at the first round of the Rumble, he withdrew from the event citing an injury. Injured his hip during the round.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sucks. Hate to see a guy like MJ go down like that, man. That's
right.
I think I've said this maybe on the stream before, if not, definitely in some of my videos on my personal channel. MJ is my boy. I love that guy. When he throws, it's just like, to me, he throws different than pretty much any other pro out there, and he's still competitive with all of them. And it's just, I just love the way he plays. He's a unique guy. I love the way he throws a disc and then just walks away. He throws it, watches the first 100 foot of the flight, and then he's like, yeah, that'll do what I want, and then just walks away. Or he'll be putting and he'll hit the putt and he'll be picking up his mini before it's even hit the chains. He doesn't do it in a braggadocious way. It's just he's just locked in, and he knows when he's pure to stroke and when he hasn't. So
yeah.
But
what do you got coming up this week? Are you done with league now that the payout happened, or what happens there?
League finished the way they do it down here. League finished last week, and then the first round of the next six week block will be this Thursday. So I'm not going to be joining that and paying the $25 to play in that, being as that I'm going to be moving to San Antonio here pretty quick. But the Spring Valley Disc Golf Pro Shop, their mobile pro shop, comes down from Spring Valley to come and give everybody their certificates, and you get a payout. And I got $22. I finished 6th or something like that, I think. Got $22 worth of credit, so I'll be picking up maybe a Kong or a Luna or a Raptor or one of the many discs you've told me I need to check out, and I haven't bought yet.
There's a few of them.
There are a few of them. There are a few of them.
Huh.
So that'll be, and I guess there's a little party kind of get together deal after the round on Thursday, and that's when they announce winners, and then you get your pick of the pro shop. So that'll be kind of cool, and I'll get to play short tees with everybody. I can still play as a casual player. People do it all the time. So I'm still going to play the round with everybody and kind of give my last hurrah, say, hey, nice meeting y'all. I'm going to go move away again now.
Right. But that is kind of your last hurrah before you head up to the Mitten State
sir. Yeah, we
for our battle.
Yeah, our showdown.
Yes, very heated.
Yeah, it's going to be super competitive. I did send a message out to Keith, the TD, to see if we could get on the same card. So fingers crossed that'll work out.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so we leave Friday night. We'll be up there sometime that week. I don't really know. It all just kind of depends on how the family stuff with Shauna's family down in Detroit works out. So, but looking forward to it because it's going to be a good time playing some disc golf back in the old stomping grounds. So,
Yeah, I will be rocking a tournament up in Cadillac this weekend, and then that is kind of my final tune-up before the long-awaited tournament that we're both playing in.
Yeah, that we've been talking about for 3 months.
I'll probably play a league next Monday, but other than that, yes.
And then probably a practice round at least one of those days that I'm up
there
too.
That's a given, but yes, I'm excited. It's been since the middle of March since I've played tournament or anything, so it's been a month, and I'm ready to get back at it and get 2 tournaments back-to-back weekends. It'll be a good 2 weekends. The weather's not looking great, but it's disc golf, so can't really be mad. Yeah,
it can change.
We'll see. So yeah, you got anything else for tonight, or?
I think that's about it. I think that's a good place to wrap it for tonight. And with me being on the road next week, I don't know if we'll have a show next week. We didn't have a show last week either, so we're kind of in a little funk here. But we'll get back on top of things. We got to figure out what the plan is moving forward through the summer anyway. So, but
maybe next week we'll just do. We had talked about just doing a kind of a live stream type deal from the course from our practice round, and just talking through some of those shots and stuff, because we had done a course preview back in, I think, January. So now that we're finally here, maybe next week during our practice round we'll do some video or some live stream or something.
Yeah, maybe we'll just go YouTube live off the phone and do a couple holes for the people. See that. That'd be kind of cool.
That works.
It won't be on a Tuesday, but maybe Thursday probably.
Thursday or Friday, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
We'll see.
Sounds good, man. I'm excited to come up there and see all y'all. So we will we'll make it happen, whatever it's going to be, and then we'll figure it out from there. So
can't wait.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have stuck with us this long, we appreciate you. We were very grateful to be joined by Team Stamp Wes himself, Mr. Captain, Mr. Disc Golf, Discraft Underground. I don't know. That's probably not
Mr. Captain Disc Golf, Discraft.
Captain Disc Golf.
I don't know what you're doing there. Yes.
Probably if anybody was going to get Captain Discraft, it would have to be Yuli, since he's the Team Discraft captain, I think. I think that's his official title or whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll give it to him. Great interview, great time. Sounds like he's got a lot on his plate that he's doing for disc golf, not just Discraft, but for the disc golf community there in the Lansing, Michigan area. So if you are out there and you're in central to South Central Michigan, and you want to play some awesome tournaments, Birchfield is a sweet course.
It is.
Definitely would recommend hitting that up, whether it's for tournament round or for any other reason. So.
Yeah, they've got, I just pulled that up, actually. August 10th, I believe, was the date he was looking for. So they've got a cool course. They've got some long tee pads, short tee pads, long baskets, short baskets. So depending on your division, they have it kind of mixed up, intermingled to what tee and what basket you're playing on.
Nice. That's cool.
They can change it around, for different rounds. So one round you're playing one basket, the next you're playing a different. So should be a cool tournament.
Be interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
Well, folks, we will see you next week sometime live from the course at Reed Park, the Vines Disc Golf Course in Ithaca, Michigan. So until then, we will see you all later.